Now, before this story, before in the previous part, I had just given you the first part of the story, which I will give you a little bit of recap. That is, in the evenings and Saturday naps, Jack used to tell stories to his little daughter Jo. And this practice he had started when she was 2 years old, and it has been for 2 years that he is telling the stories to her. Now, in for 2 years, he is going on telling the stories. Now, his head was totally empty. And what Jack did, was that he used to take the stories out of his own head. That is, it was all his creation, in which Roger used to be the first name of the characters of the story, and then the second name, that is the creature, used to change. That is Roger Fish, Roger Squirrel, Roger Chipmunk. In this way, the different stories had different creatures in it. Now, the usual format of the story used to be that the little creature used to face some problem, and then the creature used to go to the wise old owl for advice, and the wise old owl used to send to the wizard. Now, the wizard used to give the solution to the problem, but for that, the wizard always wanted a payment, which used to be the pennies, which would be more than what the little creature used to have. Now, in this story, we get to know about Roger Skunk. So, we have done that how Roger Skunk is actually the little creature which has a very bad smell. So his friends did not play with him. So he used to be very, very sad, and he therefore went to the wise old owl for solving his problem, and the wise old owl sent him to the wizard. Now, wizard would be giving him the solution. Now, here we start with the remaining part of the story. Jack rapped on the window sill, and under the covers Joe's tall figure clenched in an infantile thrill. So Jack was telling the story to his little daughter Jo, and in that process he was enacting also. So what did he do? He just went and rapped on the windowsill, because Roger Skunk had been advised by the wise old owl to go to the wizard, whose home was over the creek, through the woods and to the marshy land, and then over the creek. So Jack is just rapping on the windowsill, means he enacts in front of his daughter that he knocks on the windowsill, and under the covers Joe's tall figure, now that she is 4 years old, her figure clenched in an infantile thrill. That is, she was so engrossed in listening to the story that she was waiting for what would be the next thing happening in the story. So she was full of thrill. And then a tiny little old man came out with a long white beard. So Jack is telling the story as well as acting. That is a tiny little man, that is the wizard, with a long white beard and a pointed blue hat, said, "Eh, what's this?" That is, what is the meaning of this word? That is, it says, "What's this?" What is it? So it is, what's it? So here, so this word is what? What's it? What you want? That is, what do you want? You smell awful. So immediately the wizard told the skunk that he was smelling awful. That is, a very bad smell was emitting from his body. The wizard's voice was one of Jack's own favorite effects. Now, the Jack is taking out the voice of the wizard, and it was his favorite effects to bring the story into a amazing and thrilling one. He did it by scrunching up his face, that is, he did it by putting up his face and somehow whining through his eyes, that is, the sound which he was taking out was all on his facial expression, which felt for the interval rheumy, that is, as he was taking out that sound, his mouth was rheumy, that is, it became watery. He felt being an old man suited him. So Jack felt that the being and acting as an old man really suited him. I know it, Roger Skunk said. That is, what does he know? What does the Roger Skunk knew? That he was smelling bad. You emitted a very foul smell, a very bad smell. And then the Roger Skunk continued, and all the little animals run away from me. Now this is really very sad thing for little Roger Skunk, because all his little animals in the woods, in the forest, they ran away from him because he used to smell bad. The enormous owl said you could help me. So Roger Skunk said that the enormous owl whom he had met said that you could help me, that is, the wizard could help him. Eh, well, maybe, come on in, don't get too close. So the wizard, this is the wizard, he said that don't get too close to me, don't come very near to me. But then he invited him to his house. Now inside Joe, that is inside his house of the wizard, Joe, there were all these magic things. So Jack is continuing with the story that inside the house of the wizard, there were all magic things, all jumbled together. That is, all kept in a very topsy-turvy way, very untidy way, in a big dusty heap. And because the wizard did not have any cleaning lady, so students, class 12 students, this term too, you would be getting long answers. That is 4 marks answers you will get. So be very clear that what all details are mentioned here. That is, the house of the wizard was having big dusty heap. That is, it was very dirty, very dusty, because there was no cleaning lady. No lady was there to clean. Why? Because he was a wizard and a very old man. Will he die? So Joe asks that why? Jack tells her that he was a very old man. At this, the little girl Joe asks, will he die? That is, she's sentimental. She is loving the characters of the story. So she gets involved, gets engrossed in the story. She asks, will the wizard die? No, wizards don't die. So the father, Jack, said that the magicians don't die. Wizards are what? They are the magicians. Well, he rummaged around and found an old stick called a magic wand. So what did he? He rummaged means he just cluttered the things around and found a old stick which was a magic wand for the wizard, and asked Roger what he wanted to smell like. So the wizard asked that what do you want to Roger Skunk, that what do you want to smell like? Roger thought and said, and then he told that he wanted to smell like the roses. So the smell of the roses are really very, very good. So the little small Roger Skunk said that he would like to smell like roses, and he wanted to get rid of his body smell, bad body smell. Yes, good, Joe said smugly. So Joe also liked the idea that he wanted to smell like roses. So she too was happy. That is, she said smugly, that is with a great happiness, with great contentment, she said it was good that he wanted to smell like roses. Jack fixed her with a trance-like gaze and chanted in the wizard's elderly, irritable voice. So now he's telling the magical line, abracadabra, hocus poo, Roger skunk, how do you do? Roses, boses, pull and ear, Roger skunk, you never fear, bingo. So Jack enacted the words of the wizard, and he said all these magical words, abracadabra, and then roses, boses, pull and ear, and that with a great blast, he says bingo, and then the change comes in the smell of Roger's skunk. He starts smelling like roses. He paused as a rapt expression widened out from his daughter's nostril. So, rapt expression means she was very, very interested, very engrossed, fully devoting to hear from her father's story, widened from her daughter's nostrils, forcing her eyebrows up and lower lip down in a wide, noiseless grin. That is, grin is a what? A broad smile, an expression in which Jack was startled to recognize his wife feigning pleasure at cocktail parties. So she gave that noiseless grin, and immediately Jack was startled. That is, he was surprised to find the same kind of expression in Joe's face as his wife used to feign, that is, used to pretend being happy at cocktail parties. And all of a sudden, he whispered, the whole inside of the wizard's house was full of the smell of roses. Roses, Roger Fish cried. That is, his body smell was transformed into the smell of roses. And the wizard said, very cranky, that all be 7 pennies. Daddy, what? And the wizard said that what he would need? He would need 7 pennies as his fees, as his payment. Daddy, what? Now this little Joe is telling, what? Roger skunk. You said Roger fish. So he said, she was very astonished. She said that instead of saying Roger skunk, he said Roger fish. Of course, she was very attentive. He said, yes, son, that it was not the Roger fish, it was Roger skunk. Yes, yes, son, skunk. So Jack says, yes, son, skunk. You said Roger fish, wasn't that silly? So the little girl, Jo, says that to her daddy, wasn't it very silly of him to say Roger fish instead of Roger skunk? Very silly of your stupid old daddy. So Jack says that it was really very silly of his old daddy. Where was I? Well, you know about the pennies. Say it. Okay, Roger skunk said. So then the Jack continues the story that the wizard asked for 7 pennies and Roger skunk said, but all I have is 4 pennies. So how many he required? He demanded for 7 pennies. But how many Roger skunk had? He had only 4 pennies. And the little Roger skunk began to cry. Now you can see how the skunks are. These are the small cat-like animal which are found in America, and they have a very bad body odor, very bad body smell. They emit a bad smell from their body. Joe made the crying face again, but this time without a trace of sincerity. This annoyed Jack. Downstairs some more furniture rumbled. So Joe was not happy with the story because she thought that Roger skunk was in trouble. He had only 4 pennies and the wizard was asking for 7 pennies. And downstairs some more furniture rumbled means moved. Who was downstairs? Downstairs her mother Claire was working. She was painting some furniture downstairs in the room. Claire should not move heavy things. She was 6 months pregnant. So Jack thought that she should not move heavy things because she was 6 months pregnant. It would be their third child. So first one was Joe, second one was Bobby, and they were expecting a third child. So the wizard said, "Oh, very well. Go to the end of the lane." Now the wizard is directing from where they will Roger Skunk will get the remaining pennies. That is, the Roger Skunk would need 3 more pennies to make the payment to the wizard for getting that beautiful smell of roses in his body. Go to the end of the lane. Now the direction is given. Go to the end of the lane. Turn round 3 times. So, students, you please learn that what are all the details. What is the direction? The direction given here, to the end of the lane he has to go. Then he has to turn round 3 times and look down for the magic well. And there you will find 3 pennies. Hurry up. So this is what the wizard directed the little skunk to. Go and find the pennies. So Roger Skunk went to the end of the lane and turned around 3 times. So he went to the end of the lane and turned 3 times. And there in the magic well, now this is a well where I hope all of you must have seen a well where there is water. So that was a magic well with 3 pennies. So he took them back to the wizard and was very happy and ran out into the woods, and all the other little animals gathered around him because he smelled so good. So all the little animals all came near him, and he loved to play with them in the woods because he was smelling very good. Now after this, you see what is the reaction of the mother skunk. And they played tag, baseball, football, basketball, lacrosse, hockey, soccer, and pick up sticks. What's pick up sticks? Now pick up sticks is a kind of a game. All these are games, different types of games. So remember the name of the games they played: tag, lacrosse, hockey, soccer, pick up sticks. So it's a game you play with 6 sticks, like the wizard's magic wand. So kind of. So Joe asked that just like the stick of the wizard, which is a magic band. And they played games and laughed all afternoon. That is Roger Skunk and his friends. And then it began to get dark, and they all ran home to their mommies. So all the little animals, they all ran home to their mommies when it became dark. Jo was starting to fuss with her hands and look out of the window at the crack of the day that showed under the shade. She thought the story was all over. So they all went to their mommies, and Jo thought that the story was finished. It ended. Jack did not like women when they took anything for granted. He liked them apprehensive. Apprehensive means waiting for something, hanging on his words. Now, Jo, are you listening? Yes, because this is very interesting. So the father Jack says that now it would be very interesting. After this, the turn of the story starts. Now it's not a happy ending. It will be forwarded by the mother skunk, what she does. Roger Skunk's mommy said, now see this small Roger Skunk, his mommy said, "What's that awful smell? What's that?" And Roger Skunk said, "It's me, mommy, it's me, mommy. I smell like roses." So Roger Skunk is very proud of his changed smell. He tells his mommy that she's smelling like roses. But the mother felt it as awful smell. Why? That it was an unusual smell which she was getting. "It's me." And she said, "Who made you smell like that?" Now the mummy is not at all happy. She was very angry that who made this little Roger Skunk smell like that. And he said, "The wizard." And she said, "Well, of all the nerve," that is, how is it this is used? That is, it is used to express shock, disapproval. All the nerve means it is, this phrase is used to expressed disapproval that she did not like. Now, with all the nerve, you come with me and we are going right back to that very awful wizard. Jo sat up, her hands dabbling in the air with genuine fright. Now, Jo is also very afraid that what will be the next step of the mother. The mother skunk is very angry that why did he get that smell? Why did the wizard transform his body odor to a beautiful rose smell? Now, here the lesson of the story is that everyone, this is a great lesson for you also. The message of the story is that we all should be original. Huh? We all, the originality is there should be always originality in every person, in everyone. So the mother, being a mature lady, she did not like that he has to change for his friends. What's that? He should keep his own smell, he should keep his own originality and not change his body odor. And therefore she was angry about the wizard, that why had he to change? But daddy, then he said about the other little animals run away. Now Jo is very involved in the story. She has the mind of a little girl. Now she is only thinking about the happiness of Roger Skunk. She doesn't know what are the moralities of life, what are the real things which a child should follow. She says that the reason for Roger Skunk to get that roses smell was that all the animals used to run away. She was giving more importance to the friendship, to the playfulness of the Roger Skunk. Her hands skittered off. Skittered off means move lightly and quickly into the underbrush. All right, he said. But mommy, all the other little animals ran away. And she said, I don't care. Now who is this? This is Roger Skunk telling that the reason is all the other little animals run away from him. And he loves to be in the company of his friends. So mother said, I don't care about all these. She did not like all these pretensions. She wanted her child to be his own original self. So this is the message of the story. This is the morality of the story, moral of the story, or the lesson of the story. You smelt the way a little skunk should have, and I am going to take you right back to the wizard. So the mother was very strict. She said to the little skunk, Roger Skunk, that he smelled as a skunk should smell. And for this reason, the wizard had made a mistake to transform the smell of his body to the roses, and therefore she is angry and she goes to the wizard with her son Roger Skunk. And she took an umbrella also, and she took the umbrella, that with the umbrella she would be beating the wizard, and went back with Roger Skunk and hit that wizard right over the head. No, Jo said, and put her hand out to touch his lips. That is, she's no more liking. She said, no, daddy, you don't say tell in the stories. She just touched his lips to stop there, because she did not like her favorite characters, the Roger Skunk, the wizard, to have any kind of disappointment. She did not like the wizard to be hit on the head, and put her hand out to touch his lips, and yet even in her agitation, that is in her anger, did not quite dare to stop the source of truth. Inspiration came to her. That is, she did not she did not quite dare to stop the source of truth. That is, she did not want to hear the story any further, because she did not like that the wizard should be hit like that. Then the wizard hit her on the head and did not change that little, hit her on the head and did not change that little skunk back. No, he said. So this is Jo said that she was expecting that the wizard had hit her on her head, that is on the mother's head, and did not change that little skunk back. At this the daddy was very determined. He said no. The wizard said okay. Now the wizard had to hear what the mother's instruction was. The wizard said okay. and Roger's skunk did not smell of roses any more. He smelled very bad again. But the other little Ammam, oh, Ammam means animal, she's telling. Joan. Now the daddy is very stern. He's saying, Joan, it's daddy's stories and she cannot change. The little girl Jo cannot make the story according to her liking. So it's daddy's story. Shall daddy not tell you any more stories? Her broad face looked at him through sifted light, astounded, means surprised that she was not liking the end of the story. Then daddy said that this is the story of daddy. And does she want that the daddy should not tell any other more stories? This is what happened then. Roger skunk and his mommy went home and they heard woo woo woo. And it was the choo choo train bringing daddy skunk home from Boston. Again, the daddy was coming home from Boston and they had lima beans. What they had in the dinner? Lima beans, celery they had, liver they had, mashed potatoes, and oh my, what a nice pie! Oh my, this is a dessert. Dessert means a sweet dish. They all had this. And when Roger skunk was in bed, Mommy Skunk came up and hugged him and said he smelled like a little baby skunk again. So the mommy skunk liked her own baby skunk, no? Why will she like the roses? She will like whatever smell the baby skunk had. She liked her little baby skunk and she loved him very much. And that's the end of the story. But daddy, now you see what Joe's reaction is. But daddy, what? Then did the other little animals run away? So then she asked, then after the transformation back to his bad smell, she asked, did the animals again run away? Then daddy says here, what is daddy saying? No, because eventually means finally. What is the meaning of eventually? Finally. Alright. So finally they got used to the way. This is the message of the story. They got used to the way he was and did not mind it at all. So his friends also liked him with what smell he had, whatever smell he had, and they did not mind at all to play with him. Now, students, this is a very great lesson for everyone that you should always keep your originality. Don't try to be some other personality. Whatever you have, and you all study know that every person is unique. Every person has his quality or his demerit, or everything. So this is a very good lesson, very nice story that the little skunk played and his friends also accepted him. So you all have to keep your originality. This is the main moral of the story. What's eventuality? Now she's a small girl, no? Now what is actually she's telling this word? This actually is in a baby's words. It becomes eventually. She could not pronounce and it became eventuality. In a little while, that was a stupid mommy. Now she says, she did not like the mother skunk. She says she was a stupid mommy. Then the daddy says she is very stern. It was not. He said with rare emphasis, that is with unusual insistence, and believed from her expression that she realized he was defending his own mother to her, or something as odd. Now I want you to put your big heavy head. Now Jack is very strict. He is now he's telling he's scolding his daughter that you put your big heavy head in the pillow and have a good long nap. That is a good long sleep. He adjusted the shade so not even a crack of day showed. So he adjusted the curtains and then no light came in. No crack of day means no light of the sun came inside, and he tiptoed to the door. He was thinking that door was asleep. In the pretense means an attempt to make something that is false, that she was already asleep. But when he turned, she was crouching on top of the covers and staring at her. That is, she was crouching, that is, she was sitting on the top of the covers, and she was staring at him. Do it! She kicked her legs and sat down on the bed with a great heave and complained of springs, as she had done hundreds of times. So, what did she complain? She complained of and she said that she was not actually, not actually feeling sleepy, and as she had done hundreds of times before, except that his this time she did not laugh. Say it, Daddy. So she complained of the spring, she complained of the bed, she complained of everything that, and she did this way hundreds of times. And but she was expecting her daddy to say that there is some other ending to the story. Well, we'll see. Now at least have a rest. Stay on the bed. You are a good girl. He closed the door and went downstairs. Claire had spread the newspapers. Now his wife had spread the newspapers and opened the paint can, and wearing an old shirt of his on top of her maternity smock. So she was wearing an old shirt of Jack on top of a maternity smock. Smock is what? A dress, a girl's dress, and was stroking the chair rail with a dipped brush. That is, she was painting the chair rail, means the boundaries, with a dipped brush. Above him, footsteps vibrated and he called, John. So above him means upstairs. He could hear the footsteps were there, and Jack called to Joan. Joan, who is Joan? Joan is Joe. Shall I come up there and spank you? Spank you means beat you. The footsteps hesitated, and that was a long story. And Claire said, the poor kid, he answered with utter weariness, watched his wife labor. Now, Claire said the poor kid means she was actually supporting the girl, Joe, whereas the father was very strict with all the morals of the story. He did not want to end the story as Joe was expecting. Now both the parents, Claire and Jack, had different views in upbringing the children, in bringing up the children. Claire and Jack so Jack had different views, okay? Of bringing up the children. Bringing up children. Okay? So here next we see the woodwork, a cage of moldings. That is, all the moldings means the rails, the baseboards. Baseboards means the flat base wooden board. All around them was half old tan, that is old, that is brownish color, and half new ivory. Ivory is white, and he felt caught in an ugly middle position. Now here you see this is a very nice symbolism of the relation they were having. The furniture was half old tan and new ivory. That is, he was actually not very comfortable relationship with his wife, because both were having different ideologies. So with the colors tan and ivory, it is signifying their relationship, that both had different ideologies. And he felt caught in an ugly middle position, and though he as well felt his wife's presence in the cage with him, he did not want to speak with her, work with her, touch her, anything. So both were in such a position that he actually was having a lot of difference with his wife, and therefore these lines are said in the end. So here the story ends, and here this is the main message of the story, that children should not not change anything according to their children's mind. Parents are always very matured, and whatever parents tell the children, that only should be followed. And another very big lesson we learn from this story is that no one should lose his or her identity or originality. That is the main message given here. So I hope students, you have enjoyed, understood the story, and stay tuned with me for the other chapters explanation. I will be soon doing the poem Aunt Jennifer's Tigers. So if you like my teaching, please like, share and subscribe.